Hi everybody. For one of my activities for my professional development plan, I'd like to show you how to use a piece of computer hardware called a microbit. Now, the long-term goal for my PD is that participants will develop computational thinking through building differentiated lesson plans with block code in Python for their subject area. And the intermediate goal that we would be talking about on day one is that participants will develop fluency in block code using Python programming language. And that's built directly into an intermediate goal of building fluency with the Mac and PC operating systems. So the goal that I'm talking about today is building fluency with Python. And what I mean by fluency is becoming very familiar with Python as a language. Now, Python is a programming language that is used a lot by scientists and engineers, but it also has a lot of general purpose applications as well. And one of the things that I think is really neat about Python is that there's a version of it called MicroPython that's used for an implement called a microbit. Now this is a larger piece of a microbit. I'll take it apart and show you specifically what the microbit part of this is. But a microbit is something that we can use with the kids in class to learn programming in a non-sedentary and non-intimidating way. So if I take this piece, the white is just a protector that was built on a 3D printer. And then on the back, I have a battery pack. And on the front, if I remove this entirely from the protective case, I have two pieces, one of which is the microbit itself, and the other, which is an add-on. So the piece that I want to talk to you about today in terms of programming is the microbit. Now, a microbit is a piece of open source hardware that was developed by the British Broadcasting Company. And microbits cost from Amazon about 20 bucks. So what that means is this is an affordable computing tool for a classroom. And they're also really fun because the display is quite a bit different than what we see. You notice there's just a 5x5 LED display. And there are some different functions that are built into the microbit. For example, it's possible to use this as, you can plug it into a USB port. Of course, you can use it Bluetooth. There are temperature sensors in the microbit itself. And you can play games on the 5x5 LED. So if we give these to the kiddos in the classrooms, they will have the opportunity to do a lot of different things. One is that you actually write the programming language on your computer screen, and then you use a standard USB cable to transfer your programming code from the code that you've written on your computer to the microbit. And the other advantage is, one other advantage is that it's very small and it's very inexpensive. So it's affordable for the kids to use. And it's affordable in a classroom setting. One of the things I really like about it, especially for younger kids, is the fact that you can do activities that don't involve sitting at a screen. And there is some concern in the computer science standards that especially the younger kids are going to be spending too much screen time, so this eliminates that problem. Now the way that you can use the microbit after you've written your programming, walking around, is that you can take this battery pack, and if you notice, the battery pack has USB ports. So with this particular configuration, you can plug the larger end of the USB cable into the battery pack, like that. And then the smaller end goes into the USB port on the microbit itself. And when you do that, if the battery pack is charged, you are able to run the microbit entirely from the battery pack. So the first thing I'll show you is just that it runs. I'm just turning on my battery pack, and you'll see that my LED screen lights up. Right, so I've just turned that off because, first of all, you also can use the USB cable to charge the battery pack. So if you want to charge the battery pack, you reverse the plug-in. You plug the small end of the USB cable into the small USB port on the Microbit, and then you plug the large end of the USB cable into your computer. Now, here at Northwest College, I have a virtual machine, so it's a little bit harder, but I have 6 USB ports on the front of my virtual machine, but it's a little bit harder to get to. So, but I'm just saying this is in way of demonstration. But the other part is you have to plug the USB port into your machine or your virtual machine in order to program the Microbit, because obviously there's no keypad here and it doesn't have voice recognition. So the way that you program it is you plug it in and then you do your programming language on your screen, and then you use the information we get in day 1 about the filing systems on the 2 different systems. I keep saying PC, but it could also be your Mac. But we use the information that we have about those 2 in order to store the program and retrieve the program and write the program to the Microbit. So that's what I'm going to do today, show you how to go through this entire process, including filing and retrieving the program. So the first thing I did was I plugged the large end of my USB cable into my virtual machine, and I have the small end available to plug into the Microbit. So the first thing, when I plug the small end of the USB into the Microbit, you'll see that my LEDs flash, and that just tells me that everything is working the way that it should, that I have power and I have communication. Now, there are some really interesting features of the Microbit, but basically if you look on what I have down as the lower side, there are some pins and some connectors, and that's how you put any sort of a different sensing device into the Microbit. So the Microbit is the processor, and then whatever receives data could come in from here. But the data that we're going to get today is from the computer. So the first thing we're going to do is to write a wee little program in Python. And the place that we do this is at a website called microbit.org. What I have on the screen is, just as you see, a little picture of the Microbit, and it shows you plug your Microbit in, flashy lights come up, so it's just showing you what you should expect at this point. And at this point, we can start doing a little bit of Python programming. So I can go to the Python editor, or I can just go here to the Get Coding button. Now, the Microbit also comes with JavaScript for a programming language, and also on microbit.org you can go directly to JavaScript in order to program, but the school districts are using Python, and so I'm just going to go straight to Python. But you can do either one. Either one is ready. The Microbit is ready for either programming language. So to get coding, the first thing that we want to do is to pull up a screen that looks like this. All right, and there are just some really interesting features about this. When you program in Python, the first thing is that you can set different functions that you want your Microbit or your macro computer to do with very simple commands. One thing that's interesting is when you have a hashtag out front like this, that just means that it's a comment, okay? And then while is a piece of programming syntax. And so what this basically says, while true, display scroll, hello world. What this means is that when you turn your computer on, when you turn your Microbit on, it's going to display the phrase hello world. Now, hello world is kind of a default or a tradition in the computer or coding community. Anytime that a machine comes up, it says hello world, or it may not say it on the screen, but it's one of the things that just is traditionally been done since like the 1970s. So one thing that always strikes me about hardware is that hardware doesn't really know what it is until it starts running software. So this is just my little thing. Nobody else does it except me. But after Hello World, I always add, am I a toaster? Because in my opinion, the hardware does not know if it's a toaster until the software kicks in. So the original program just called for the LEDs to display the words Hello World, and I've added the words I'm a toaster. And then the next thing it says is to display the image of a heart. Now, there are images that are built into Microbits or into Python, and those can be found on the Microbit MicroPython readthedocs.io website, which is associated with the microbit.org site. So you can see that there are lots of images that are built in. So this image that's showing on this microbit is a little smiley face, and you could, if I wanted to put that, I could say smile. You can do hearts. You can have a sad face, a confused face, an angry face, an asleep face, a surprised face, and so forth. Now, because I feel like computers are confused when they first wake up, I'm going to choose the confused image when I write my code. And so after my code says, hello world, am I a toaster? Instead of showing an image of a heart, I'm going to have the image confused, which is a confused face. Now, the next thing it does is we'll pause. Sleep just means that it's going to pause in this routine, but this is in nanoseconds. So 2,000 nanoseconds is an extraordinarily short amount of time. So I'm going to make it 50,000 nanoseconds, which is still a short amount of time, but not as short as 2,000. Okay, so the next thing that I need to do then is to download my program. So I choose the download button right here. And what I will see is that it will write a program that on a PC will show up on the bottom here. So this is my microbit. They write in a hexadecimal code. So if I look at it, it's not going to make any sense. But I'll show you what, when I just wrote this and then I saved it, it's just a bunch of, oh, I can't even open it. Never mind. So there's not much to be seen there. But what I want to do is I want to store that on my microbit. And to store it on my microbit, what I need to do is to find where my microbit is. So on a PC, once again, down here in the tray, there are a lot of different icons, and you can see I've been working on too many things today. I have way too many icons open. But this file icon, my file explorer, is where you find files on your PC. So if I'm going to look for my microbit, after I plug it in to the port, when I open up my file explorer, sorry about that, and I go to this PC, what I see is that one of my choices is microbit. Okay, now that's where I want this program to be stored. All right, so I take the program from, so I want to open up my microbit. Do you see the icon changes a little bit because I've already opened it up? So if I leave it there, and if I take this, then I just should be able to drag it to the microbit, and it should be where it needs to be. Okay, so let me see if that works. All right, so at this point, I now have a microbit with a program running on it. And if there's a button on the back, which is a reset. So if it's running and I want to stop it and start, push the button, that now my microbit displays my program, and it says, hello world, am I a toaster? Then I have a question mark and what Python thinks is a confused face. And then after that 50,000 nanosecond pause, it starts again. All right, so that's our lesson today. Thank you very much, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.